Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video and the final video for Heroes Jubilee 35 Boss Battle 2. This is my least optimized Boss Battle 2 of the two because I have not yet gotten 3 alts on a perfect run. So this 429 could go a lot higher, and it does go a lot higher according to nature, who is almost 100k higher than me. So thanks for that. But this stage is fairly simple. It is only one enemy. It is Veldora. He doesn't have a lot of HP. He doesn't have a lot of defense. There's not much to him. You just don't want to pierce, and you don't want to synergy at all, which unfortunately makes our 2% chances to do that on our units feel like about 50%, at least during my runs. I naturally pierced and naturally synergied, or did both at the same time, more often than I would like to think 2% would lead me to believe. But otherwise, it's a pretty simple, straightforward fight. You continue to stack and stack and stack. Again, the same kind of rules apply from Boss Battle 1, is that instead of sending like a bunch of alts that are kind of buffed like turn 5 or something, you just want to continue to use as much stacking greens as possible with the team that we use for pretty much Boss Battle 1, and that'll maximize your damage, and it just comes down to orb RNG. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, we are using the same team for Boss Battle 2 as we did Boss Battle 1, so Rimuru, Nabe, Shizuka, Shalltear, Shizu, and Ainz. Again, ideally, you'd want EX ults for both Shalltear and Ainz, considering that they're dark. Shalltear, even though she's AoE, if she has an EX ult, it's 600%, which is higher than a normal Shizu ult, which is like 495 or something. Shizu gets higher if it's an EX ult, which again, I haven't yet been able to get an EX ult for her on this stage, or even an ult at all for her on my best run, which you're about to watch. So just know that this run could be a lot better, because I could have another probably 700,000 damage added to it, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and jump in there, and it's gonna play the exact same way. So we're gonna go, I think, at a little bit faster speed for this part of the video, because it is just another 8 turns of stacking, and there's nothing different about it. Like, you're still only sending normal ults. This is a good hand right here, because we only need 1 orb change, which can either allow us to use both of Shizuka's skills, or we could use an orb change, one of Shizuka's skills, and then the Despair, which is what we ended up doing, is the Despair will reset with Rimuru first, and then use the Special Convert, and then it'll bring Shizuka in. So, if you want the perfect RNG, you won't need any orb change on turn 2, and then you can just use Despair and Shizuka and call it a day. And I'm pretty sure that's how the people be getting a higher score than what I have got right now, alongside having the access to a Shizu ult on the nuke. So you come in for Nabe, no Shalltear orbs, but it's fine. We go with the live mode buff because it is double stacking effects. Ult resistance down plus the 12% attack, and I consider that much better than the 20% weakness strike at the end of the day. Got a super counter from Shizuka, which I guess is cool. The extra 10k. We only need 1 orb change here as well, so it means that we can actually even out Nabe's skills, which works out fairly well. And then we can use Rimuru to reset Shizuka, and then we can use both of her skills. Boom, boom. And then that leaves us enough to use the orb change and then the ult swap for Shizu. So this is what I would think like a very good run would go. Not a perfect run, but a very good run. It's just that we need some ult gauge for Shizu, and apparently she's allergic, because that's like 4 turns in a row where we have no orbs for her, or something like that. So ult swap, Despair, Despair. Again, only need 1 orb change, which is nice. So we can do this. We have a double stack of Rimuru, which means that we can reset both not Shalltear, but Nabe and Shizuka. So boom, and then you come in. We'll lower your costs down, keep you at 25. And then use them both again. And then next turn, I would love for some Shizu orbs, so we can get the ult, but it's not quite meant to be. So, looking pretty good. We get one orb, awesome. Love to see it. It's not enough to get it, and at this point, we're pretty much locked into you're not going to get the ult, because at this point we have to keep swapping people in and out. That getting a Shizu ult now is impossible. So, could get a little luckier. It is what it is. We've gotten very lucky with the orb changes, though, overall, and the stacking with Shizuka, though, so that's very nice. Boom, you come in, we'll alt swap away. Only one Shizu orb means that we're not going to get it. Yeah, we're quite a ways off of it. But depending on how RNG treats you, at this point, now that we have 2 ults, sometimes 3, you may have enough points left over to use the Ain's crit magic buff alongside everything else, which will definitely help out your damage potential moving forward. So we'll bring Nabe in. At this point, now our orb changes and Shizuka is going to cost a little bit extra, but we do have the points for it. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could use the magic buff from Ain's, but it's only if you have access to it. So Despair, Despair, we'll reset here, the orb changes, boom, boom, and then we'll bring Shizuka in, and we'll just have to use her at higher cost, because we do have enough. It costs 90 now. Boom. And then we have 3 turns left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're closing in on 1 million. We're over 1 million damage now. Looking pretty good. 101k on that. He doesn't have guard at all, which, you know, means that we can do even more damage than normal than what we're doing for Boss Battle 1, because they all have a bunch of guard. Here's a fun turn, right? I'd love to bring Shizu in and get the ult, but then we wouldn't have access to Shizuka on the final turn, which I think is a little bit more important to get Ain's and Shoutir buffed up more than anything. So Shizu has to come in now, alt swap away, and then we just have to use 1 orb change for Nabe. But unfortunately that does put us down on points, and we have not been able to use the crit buff with Ain's at all. But we do have a double stack of Rimuru, which is pretty good. So 120k there. We're almost to 1.5 million damage before the nuke comes in. So now, the final turn, and we just have to kind of play around with what kind of orbs we get. So we're going to use the orb change with Nabe. No one else is coming in for their ults, so we're going to have that full hand right there. We'll bring Shizuka in, and we'll use everything here. No, we'll use these skills. Quick math. Quick math. We'll reset Shizuka, so Shizu will miss a stack. Oh no. Terrible. But we needed those at lower cost to make sure we could do everything. So, you're out. Shizu comes in, and then we'll use the big time buffs, and that leaves us just enough points to use 1 more stack of Despair. So, 12 stacks total. And then we'll go ahead and nuke Shoutir first, again, to lower the magic resistance. And then we'll follow up with the greens. Shoutir does 4.3 million. Ain's does 8.6. And then the Ain's 200% orb does 488 for a total of 15.2 million damage, which is pretty good. But remember that it could be higher, because we could have been able to use the Ain's crit buff multiple turns. We could have had a Shizu ult as well, and that would have been another 600, 700,000 points. It is what it is, but that is so far my best run. I will probably continue to try, but there it is, at least on video. Let's move on. Alright, the second team is again a half meta build, so Rimuru, Nabe, Ain's, and Shizu. Again, assuming you had decent luck and you were able to pull the 2 best units plus the single target nuker, so the only units you're missing are the 2 other supports. So we're going to bring Dark Shinsha and Dark Milim. First anniversary units, very, very old at this point, but still capable of putting out decent numbers of damage and decently supporting Ain's. Milim is scale fused, so she's giving all dark allies a 25% attack buff, so that is very helpful. Shinsha is able to lower crit resistance, so not quite as good stacking capability as Shizuka, but definitely can help your damage output. Let's go ahead and start this up. And the team is essentially going to run the same way. It's just that now we don't have that AoE ult with Shoutir, so we're not going to lower the magic resistance. We have 3 single target ults, which if you can get 2 ults and then the EX ult for Ain's, then great. It will look very, very good. It's best to make sure that Milim gets the weakness strike buff from Shizu at the very, very end, because even if she's not skill fused, she's still giving herself a 15% attack buff. So that's a lot better than what my 92 Shinsha is going to be doing. So here, not quite a perfect orb change like we got the first time, but it is what it is. So we'll use both orb changes here because Milim can actually take care of our turn 1 and not have to worry about Nabe, resetting her and then using it again and all that. So Milim is definitely very helpful here because she's doing, 4 things, right? She's alt buffing, raising either her attack or everybody's attack that's dark. She's orb changing, and she's giving permanent skill points on greens, which honestly doesn't matter all that much because it caps at 100, and Rimuru is already doing that, and he does 100 the first try, so not too much of an impact there, but it does make sense for like turn 1 when you have to use it. It does give you a little bit extra to play around with. Not that it really matters, but hey, it's a benefit. It's a green-focused team, and she's helping green stuff, right? So, again, we're gonna wait till the very end to try and get a Shinsha ult. It is what it is. The Shizu, I mean, since mine is 120, she may end up doing more damage, but she won't benefit from the dark buff. She'll benefit from the weakness strike, certainly, but honestly, I think it's a little better. So maybe if we were to play around, I'm not actually quite sure how this ends again, because it's been a couple days. Maybe, in a perfect world, maybe we would use Shinsha, bring her in, buff the dark attack for Ainz and Milim, and then send her out for Shizu, who maybe has an EX ult, may very well get you a better score. Maybe I do that, I don't know, we'll find out in 5 minutes. But we're looking fairly good so far. Ainz has the EX ult, we got a lot of orbs for Shinsha right here, we can swap the ults away, boom, we can use Rimuru to stack. Probably better to bring Milim in and get the stacks on her. It is what it is, though. So, boom. Milim comes in. Or, well... Milim comes in? No, well, okay, so, okay, interesting. Very interesting choices I'm making here. Maybe I'm misplaying on purpose? I should have brought Milim in, quite honestly. But there we have enough points to use the Ainz magic and crit buff, because at this point we don't have to worry about another stack of despair or the Shizuka, 45 points or 50 points or whatever. So we will have an excess, so we can pretty much always guarantee that we're going to be critting from like turn 4 or 5 onwards, which will definitely help your damage out, certainly. So Milim, alright, we almost had the EX ult with Shizu, so maybe we actually do end up doing what I talked about earlier. 91k from Ainz, 191 right there, alright. Interesting hand. Milim has an ult, Shizu has the EX ult now, perfect. And now we just need to worry about what's going to happen next. So, okay, interesting. Boom, boom, and then the ult swap. And then, okay, we'll bring Nabe in. So actually, okay, Shinsha didn't get an ult. Alright, so we're going to have 3 ults then. So maybe we do end up doing, wait, hold on. Well, no, okay, we didn't really get what I wanted out of this, so... interesting decisions were made here. I should have taken Shizu out, but oh well. 100k for Ainz. So yeah, definitely this run could have been a lot better. So just know that. But we got a natural hand of greens, so that's cool. So Nabe can come out. But the problem is, now, here, that Nabe doesn't have another orb. And so if we swap Shinsha in first, it's just going to turn to a Shizu orb, and then we have no Milim ult. So that is unfortunate, and that's what we're going to have to do. So Milim doesn't get an ult here. So we're missing quite a bit of damage. So Ainz gets the dark buff, which is important because he's the primary nuker. Yeah, definitely not the greatest run. I could have even probably re-recorded this and we would have been okay. But just know that I'm missing probably another 1,000,000 damage off of this at the end of the fight. Yeah. So reset with Ainz. We can use the orb change from Milim probably to get okay, more not or not. Damn. What was I doing? Well, okay, so 1,000,000 there, 4.4 million with Ainz. Yeah, and we could have gotten easily another 1,000,000 probably, so we could have been almost at 10 million. All things considered, if we had orb changed and had a Milim ult. But, alright. Sure, there we go. 231k, 7.8 million. It's not bad for the half meta, and it could be better. So just keep that in mind if this is the team that you have to end up using. But let's move on. Alright, next up is the Idols team, Idolmaster. So Rimuru, Mirai, and Shizuka. We're not bringing Tsubasa, we're bringing Dark Milm instead because she is also on Pretty Sparkle. And then we have Lumi and Isis for the green buff, and then the stacking alt damage, just to help us do a bit more. So our primary nuker here is going to be Dark Milm, and she's going to be supported by all of the other ladies on the team. And you know what, it's a fine team. It doesn't quite have like the big time buffs to get you the high damage score that you're really looking for, because we're not doing like 20 million damage with this team. It does stack, certainly, and it is pretty... It's not really RNG dependent because Rimuru is converting all of your orbs to greens. But it is like a slow kind of burn, where it's just small buffs added up over time, over and over and over and over and over again. Will get you a decent number, but not like the big bone daddy damage that Ainz is doing with 80-point buffs all over the place and big time stacks. So, but it's a good team, and you will take little damage because most people on this team are invincible. But at this point right now, we're running it with not the invincible characters up front. So yeah, Isis took 350 there, but okay, whatever. So we're not bringing Shuna because she has the alt swap, which is cool and all, but her second skill with the synergy is useless because he has synergy resistance. So we brought Isis instead to make sure that we could just always have Rimuru ready to cycle, and we always have that green buff active, and we'll just send alts as they go. There's no point in holding on to it. Shizuka's not going to do that much damage. Mirai's not going to do that much damage. Mirai actually doesn't really see the front at all, realistically. Actually, wait, she's not even on this team, is she? I'm confused now. I think she is. Oh, she is. Alright, well, we used her like twice for the future hand of greens, maybe? Maybe? But not too often. We do want to use as many stacks of Dark Lumi as we can very early, because that'll just help our alt damage over the course of the fight. So, there we go. So we almost don't use it there, but now we do. And then we'll go ahead and use it. Let's see, 128k, so yeah, not a lot of damage, but it was okay. And now we've got a Lumi alt, which don't really care about all that much. We'll go ahead and use another... Let's see. You come out of here. Boom, boom. And the green buff again, just to make sure it's always on. And yeah, and then we'll do this. So Isis, because she is dark, she does have super weak point technically, so she will benefit from this a little bit. So 8,000, 14,000, 20,000 with Milim. So we're looking pretty good so far. And yeah, we're halfway through the fight, and we are 600,000 damage. 60% alt buff, so we need one more from Lumi before it caps out. So we're just going to use the alt buff from Milim here, because it's going to hit both her and Isis, and they are the two with the alts. So this will work out fairly well. 236, 351, so we're over 1.2 million damage now, which, you know, is fine for a team not meant for this stage. And now we have a Shizuka alt, which technically would lower the magic resistance, but so we will probably send it. I think we forego a Rimuru here, and we just use the orb change. Maybe. We'll find out real fast, won't we? Okay, weakness strike, up, cool. You come in for Shizuka, okay. And then the final alt buff, so now we're capped at 80%, and then Mirai comes in. Alright, so, alright, that works out, sure. We're going to only send 5, because we want to save the alt for Milim for the final turn. And now we have 3 alts. We have the Shizuka alt, we have the Isis alt, and we have the Milim alt. And we are fully buffed from Lumi, so now we can go ahead and use the alt buff here, plus another live mode, plus another stack of Rimuru. And now we can... Actually, we cannot send, because we don't have a Shizuka alt. Unfortunate. Well, if we had the Shizuka alt, we would send her first because of the weakness of the magic resistance down. But Milim does, you know, pretty good damage right there. We're ending at over 2.5, almost to 2.5 million. And it's a serviceable team. It's not a super great team, but it does get you an S rank score, and it is viable for low scoring tiered options. But I don't recommend bringing the Vengeance team. You only have one enemy now that's hitting you not a lot of times, so I didn't even try them in this stage because they're not going to do very well. Green teams. You'd think there's a lot of them, right? And there are a lot of green teams, but not all of them are built for this kind of stage. So let's move on to the final team, which is the first anniversary team. Alright, so for this run we made a little bit of a change, because we don't need to AoE anymore, so we don't need Dark Rimuru. The crit is nice and all, but oh well. We're going to bring Dark Lumi, and we're going to bring Traya instead of Aaron and Rimuru. So Dark Lumi, again, giving us that permanent ult buff, and then Traya will be able to assist us with the orb changing that Aaron would have done, because she's got, you know, the double convert going for her. So we don't have a dedicated orange convert, but Traya does bring in a lot of versatility, you know, between her own orb change and then the special convert that matches what Dark Milim is doing. So, I mean, this should work out fine, honestly. It's just that we have technically we have 3 single target Dark units, Isis, Shinsha, and Milim. So ideally, that's going to be what your final nuke turn is the 80% fully buffed Lumi stuff, and then we've got the Shinsha ult and the Milim ult, and then the Isis ult with the Milim and Shinsha buffs, with the Dark Veldora buff. Again, every time you use a skill, it stacks up by 5%, up to a cap of 70, so that is what your nuke turn is going to be: Dark Milim, Shinsha buff, and Veldora buff for quote-unquote maximum damage. So here, we have 85 points, so we can use 3 skills, technically, so we'll do that, and then we can reset everybody up front. Yeah, we'll reset these skills, we'll use Milim's Orb Change again, and then we'll bring in Shinsha or Isis, one of the two. Okay, Shinsha. So we used a stack of the Lumi buff, so that's 1 out of the way, 1 of 4. If your Lumi isn't skill fused, don't worry about it too much. Like, 60% ult damage buff is still perfectly fine. But, obviously if she's skill fused, she'll do more. But you need to have her at level 100, you need to have the skill fusion active, so it's a little bit too much asking for a semi-new player to have all that. So 60% permanent damage, still perfectly fine buff. If you have Shizu from the Overlord collab, certainly bring her this time. She'll help out a lot. But at least we have the orb changing necessary to make this happen, which is definitely a plus. But again, since we're not EX ulting, there's no reason to hold on to these ults. Just send them as they come and just get them out so you can make more room for full hands of greens. Which, we have a Lumi buff, so that's fine. We'll use another stack of her, plus the green buff. Hopefully. Boom. And crit resistance down from Shinsha, always a good stack right there. So we're up to 40. So we need 2 more stacks of Lumi. This will be the 3rd right here. And then we just need 1 more. And we'll look pretty good. We're going to send this Lumi ult, get it out. 58k, alright, cool, whatever. 14,000 damage on Milim, up to 29. Veldora ults. And... alright, well that's an interesting hand right there, isn't it? So, more crit resistance down. Even though that's not really doing much for us because we're not critting, it is giving us extra skill points on all of our orbs, which is much more important. Because we need to have the orbs, or we need to have the points necessary to orb change to get full hands of greens to continue to get, ult gauge and protection gauge. So, even though we're not benefiting off the crit resistance debuff, we are benefiting off of the side buff. Because it does stack alongside the Isis buff, which is like the 50% all gauge, and then Shinsha's doing, like 15% each time skill point gain. They're 2 separate things, so they're proccing separately. So Isis Orb Change, another debuff, boom. And then, I think we run it. Yep, there we go. So we're at 3 turns left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this should get us an ult for everybody, honestly. Yeah, perfect. So now we just need to make sure that this next turn looks pretty good. So probably Isis and Shinsha will leave. So we're full buffed already. So honestly, we don't really need to do too much here. We can just do this and use a stack of Veldora, because why not? And then we'll just go into next turn looking pretty good. And then the green buff just in case. Lumi comes in for Shinsha, because I want to send as many green orbs as possible. And then Triad can come in for... Okay, well, we swapped Lumi for Isis, but you get what I'm saying. Alright, so you come in, and then we'll use the orb change here. Boom. That's 5. So a lot of points right there. Decent damage. Don't need to do anything else, though. And that gets us, quote-unquote, an EX ult for Shinsha. Cool. But now we're ready to go. Right, we have 3 of the single target ults. We have the full buff from Lumi. Hopefully we can make this into a full hand of greens to make sure that we can get the benefit off the 200% orb. So we'll use Veldora here to reset Triad down a little bit. So we use her convert, and then the special convert, another stack of the resistance down, which again doesn't really matter, so that's kind of a wasted skill. Once we bring Milim in for Lumi, we're going to take that orange, so I don't need to worry about that. And then Isis comes in for Triad, and there we go. Full hand, buff, and then we'll use the stack of Veldora to make sure that the 2 girls that didn't get it the first time get it now, and we will finally nuke. And Isis 231, Shinsha 299, Milim 363, and the final 200% orb does like 100 something. Oh no, we pierced. Never mind. Well, that was unfortunate. We would have done 100 something. But there we go. That is the first anniversary team, 1.7 million, so not super uber duper great, but definitely a team that you can use that's old and relatively friendly. But there we go. That's it for the Jubilee 35 videos. Please let me know in the comments if this video helped you out, or if any of the videos helped you out, or if I'm just talking out my ass for this entire time of recording these. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.